The very first part of your resume is going to be your career profile. This is really the hook that gets the person interested to read more about it. So let's talk about what it should contain. Your career profile is really an elevator pitch for why you're a great candidate for a specific position. This means your profile is going to look a little bit different for each position you apply for. You're going to want to tailor it slightly to each job. Your profile is not going to change significantly, but there are things that you'll want to highlight based on what is most valuable to the job you're applying for. This is an optional section if you're brand new to the workplace, though you could still summarize your educational experience and how it's going to be a great fit for the new company. I would recommend that most people include this section in their resume. A well-written career profile is also really helpful if you're changing careers. The content can focus on how your past experience and accomplishments relate to the new field that you're looking to break into. Who's it best for? While I mentioned this is really useful in any resume, I think it's a non-negotiable when it comes to mid and senior career level experience, or if you're changing careers. It's such a good opportunity to hook the reader that you really want to maximize the chances of your entire resume being read. What should be in your career profile? Your career profile is really a brief summary of your skills to date. It's going to be 50 words or less, and in most cases, half that or less. You want something that really quickly gets somebody interested, and the longer that you make it, the harder it's going to be to hook them. You want a few punchy, strong points that make them want to read the rest of your resume. So what types of things should you include in this? You want to talk a little bit about who you are career-wise. You want to talk about what you've accomplished, and you want to talk a little bit about your key skills. Most employers consider past performance as a strong indicator of future performance. So showing them what you've delivered in the past helps them see how you'll benefit them in your new role. Now, let's make this really practical. Let's look at 2 sample profiles for vastly different positions, and I'll show you how it would work for each. And then we'll move into creating your own career profile. So here's our first sample profile. For this first sample profile, we're looking at a position for a data analyst. I'm writing this with the assumption that there are certain skills that are required. It's really important to go back to the job profile, the job description, and read through that to help you really set up a strong profile. You'll be able to key in on the things that really are valuable to that employer. You can go back to the first lesson to find out how to do that in a better way. So now we've got this data analyst position. What does a sample profile look like? Remember, it's a brief summary of your skills to date. So here's a good sample profile for an analyst. Big data analyst with 5 years of hands-on SaaS programming experience, drives productivity improvements through process automation, yielding increased output and higher customer satisfaction. We've summarized in not quite 3 full lines a lot of skills that this person has and exactly how they've used those skills to be able to help the companies they've worked at in the past. We talk about who you are. You're a big data analyst. We talk about your experience, 5 years of experience, and key skills, SaaS programming, and what those key skills led to as well, productivity improvements, process automation, increased output, higher customer satisfaction. So we've managed to say in 3 lines about a half a dozen different major key skills and talents that you're bringing to this role. When we get into the highlights, we'll start to put some numbers on these. Now, let's switch gears and look at a sample profile for a vastly different position. Let's look at a sample profile for a customer service representative. Here's what that profile might look like. Analytically driven senior customer service representative with 10 plus years of extensive call center experience. Adept at transforming customer feedback into actionable insights for reduced call times and increased customer satisfaction. You'll notice some things that are quite similar to the last position profile we looked at. We talked about analytically driven, so you're really fact-based. We talk about the number of years of experience. We talk about who you are. You're a senior customer service representative. We talk about what you've done with those skills, transform customer feedback, created actionable insights, reduced call time, increased customer satisfaction. So again, in a matter of 3.5 lines, we've managed to convey a lot of information about your skills and make the person reading your resume much more interested to know more. Like with the last profile, when we get into the highlights, we'll go into even more depth about exactly how much of an impact that you had in each of these areas. Now that we've gone through 2 profiles, it's time for you to create your profile. So, what position are you applying for? Now, pull up that job description, look over the key things, and think about your career experience. Go back through the sample profiles that we've looked at. How can you talk about who you are, what your experience is, and your key skills in a few lines? I think the best way to do this is to start out by making 5 to 10 bullet points. This gives you way more than you need, but it gives you a point that's easy to reduce from instead of trying to come up with things piece by piece as you go. And even though you probably won't use all of those points in your profile, or at least you shouldn't be using 10 different points in your profile, you will end up using them throughout your resume, so they're still going to come in handy. There's a workbook that goes with this section of the course, which helps you sketch out all of the details of your resume. There's a page in there specifically for your career profile, so you can make notes there, or just grab a notebook and start making some of your own notes. What does your profile look like? Make sure it includes who you are, what you've accomplished, and your key skills. And just when you think it's short enough, see if you can shorten it a little bit more. In 2 sentences, can you summarize this? And maybe more importantly than 2 sentences, in about 24 words, can you summarize your career profile? That's really what you want to do here. So take some time, make some notes, go ahead and write your career profile. And when you're done with that, come back to the course and we'll move on to the next section of your resume.